Okay, the first step that we do before anything is we save our file. File, Save As. You want to go to your H drive and put it in a folder that makes sense to you. Every class is a little bit different. I've created an Excel folder. Naming it Book 1 or Book 2 doesn't make sense, so I'm calling it Calendar. I know that it's now called Calendar because up at the top it doesn't say Book 1 or Book 2, it says Calendar. The first step is changing the page layout. So underneath the tabs up at the top, it starts out at Home. We want to go to Page Layout, and we'll go to the Margins. So if you do the down triangle underneath Margins, we're allowed to select some pre-selected margins or go to Custom. So you'll need to go to the Custom Margins and fill in the numbers that it says on our handout. So for example, the top margin asks us to be 0.3. So I'm going to highlight that and say 0.3. Continue around with the different settings at the different margins, and then we'll come back and do the centering. When we need to center it on the page, we'll click the horizontal and vertical to center it on the page. Next it says to change the page layout to landscape. So you can see in this tab here, here's page layout. Its default is portrait. That's the way it wants to set up. So we're going to change that to landscape. That'll make it long and wider. Next we'll click OK. You may or may not see some dotted lines on your page. It's okay if you don't see those dotted lines. That's the print area. We're now going to the column setup. So columns are the things that run with the letters up at the top. As I hold down my mouse, I can select different columns. I'm going to select A through G, as my handout says, and I'm going to need to change that column width to a specified 17.57. I can do it in one of two ways. If I'm on the Home tab, over here, there's a Format menu. Click the down triangle and say Column Width. I can type in 17.57. Another way that students do this is when they've got columns highlighted, they can right-click and it brings up a default for column width. I'd like you to go and use the Format pull-down menu over here when you're doing that. So we're all set with column setup. Let's go to row setup. In row setup, it asks us to make row number 1 84 tall. So this is not row 1 here. This is row 1 when you click on the number. So I'm going to left-click on number 1, and I've highlighted the entire row. And I'll do this one by saying Format, Row Height. This one needs to be 84. It asked me to do row number 2 at 24. So I'll click that one with my left mouse. Format, Row Height, 24. The next step, or the next bullet in our directions, tells us that we're going to be doing multiple rows. We could go one at a time, format, change it, type it in, but that would take a long time. There's a shortcut when you're wanting to select more than one cell or more than one row or column. You can hold down the Control key, and so what you can do is, as I'm holding down Control, I can select the rows that I need. So it's asking me to select the odd rows all the way up to number 11. Again, we'll go to Format, and we'll change that to row height of 18. So all those have been changed to 18. The last step, we've got 4, 6, and again I'm holding down the Control key, 8, 10, and 12. And now I need to change the row height to 74.25 on those cells. And I'm starting to see my calendar take shape just a little bit here. We're done setting up the rows. Next we need to go to formatting the cells. So for date rows 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11, so let's highlight those again with our Control key. So hold down the Control key and select the 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. It tells us that we need to do the Alignment tab, and we need to center it on the horizontal to right. We need to do the horizontal alignment right and the vertical alignment to the top. So to change that, we're going to change on the Format menu. It says Format Cells, so instead of doing row height or column width, we're going to go down to Format Cells. That gives us lots of options. It already brings us up on the Alignment tab, but if it's not, if it's on something else, change it to the Alignment tab. Let's make horizontal, make that go to the right. And let's make the vertical at the top. It says that all of the rows should be centered both horizontally and vertically. We're going to have to change those later. You'll see what I mean when I talk about the fill series. So, say OK, and we've changed those. So next, in the fill series, we need to click on cell A2. So here's A, here's 2. You can see I'm now on A2. And it says that we're going to type in the word Sunday. The day Sunday goes right here. Notice I used a capital S. When I click outside that box, I do notice that Sunday is not centered, and later we're going to need to center that. That's okay. We'll leave that left justified right now, or left aligned. I need to use the drag handle now to fill the series. So I'm going to fill these rows. I could go in here and type Monday and then go to Tuesday, but I'd rather use the fill series. And the way Excel works is if you take and drag at the bottom right, it understands or predicts what you'd like to do. So next we're going to go to, oh, look at that. It automatically put in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's called using the fill series tool. So we've got Sunday through Saturday. I'm going to go ahead and center those right now by highlighting them all, coming up here and just saying center it. I'm also going to go center vertically. If I didn't want to do that, I could go to the format and format cells and make sure that it's horizontally and vertically centered. It's the same thing. That's called the alignment, so now those are all centered. Ask now that I go to the first odd row, number 3, and wherever my month is going to begin, we want to put a number 1. For this trimester that I'm talking about right now, it's going to be the month of November, and it starts on a Saturday. So I'm going to click on this Saturday and type the number 1. When I hit enter, that's going to be up here. You'll notice this one is aligned to the right. We set that earlier in the format cells. When we were doing format cells, we set the alignment like that. It says next to go to the next odd row and continue the numbering. So I could go 2, 3, 4, and start numbering them, or we know the pattern, or Excel knows the pattern for us. If we highlight these, I'm just taking the left mouse and holding it down and dragging through those cells. Now Excel knows the pattern. I can fill series by just dragging this and filling in those numbers. You might want to try something so you notice it ends on the number 8. Come down here to the next row. If you do a number 9 and click outside, notice what it does. Excel doesn't know that we have a pattern here. So you have to show Excel that there's a pattern. So instead of being 999, we just say 9, 10. Now that we have a pattern, we highlight both of those cells. We say Excel, fill that series, and now it sees the pattern for us. So we're going to continue doing this for our month of November in all of the odd rows. And I notice that we're going to run out of rows. So instead of modifying our calendar, we're going to do something here in the Sunday the 23rd. So on Sunday the 23rd, we're actually going to make this a two-day box. They do that sometimes on calendars. So we're going to say 23/24. I'm sorry, it won't be the 24th. It'll be 23 and the 30th. So that Sunday will be 23rd, and then it'll also be the 30th. You probably won't have to do this on other months this year. Let's hit enter and see if that works. So this cell right here is going to be a combination of Sunday the 23rd and Sunday the 30th. We're all set with the fill series. Now we're going up to title. It asks us to highlight cells A1 through G1, and we're going to use the tool Merge and Center on the toolbar. So as long as I'm on Home, I'll see the Merge and Center, and I'm just going to click on it, Merge and Center, click it once. It merged all those cells, and it says whatever I type in there is going to be centered. I need to wrap the text, so I'm going to click Wrap Text, and after that I'm going to click into our area here. This is where I can type the month. When I click November and hit enter, you'll notice that November goes to the very center of those cells. I could also change that to make it in the middle by clicking the alignment tab to say middle align in this group of cells. Now we've got one last thing to do. This is the wrong size font. It needs to be 60 points. So I'm just going to type in 60 and hit enter. Underneath that, there's a tiny little box that says we should be adding our name in a text box and using 12-point font. So there's no text box option on this. We'd have to go to the Insert tab, Insert, find Text Box, click someplace in here, and type your first and last name. It says we need to make that 12-point. Right now, that's only 11. I'm just going to go ahead and say 12. When I hit Enter, I've got my name there. I can drag that around wherever I'd like it to be. I'm going to drag it down to the bottom right there. Okay. We've gone quite a while on this calendar, and I would hate for things to freeze up, so I'm just going to go up here and click the Save, or you'll notice the shortcut is Control-S. I've just saved my calendar. It just saved it back in the same spot that I had started with. And now we need to do adding interests. So I'm going to use the paint bucket and fill important dates with a light color, and I need to do at least 3 of those. At this point, I need to fill in 3 different cells that are important for us. And I've been looking at my November calendar, and I know that some important cells are coming up towards the end of the month. The 26th, 27th, and 28th is going to be our Thanksgiving vacation. So I'm going to highlight the date cells, 26th, 27th, and 28th, and I'm going to add the fill cells to make them a light color. This is the fill bucket, the paint bucket, and I'm going to use a color that's light. I'll use a light green here. So I've highlighted those cells, and I filled them in. I needed to do at least 3. Oh, I've got another one here. I'm actually going to do this one, a different color. That's my wife's birthday. You can see I can do different colors. I'll just make it a light blue there. So I've got 3 different cells. You could do some other dates in there that might be important for November. For example, there's no school on the 4th. That might be a really happy color for you because you don't have school. So remember, we're doing light colors. We're not doing dark colors. It says to add clip art to your calendar too. So clip art, if you go to Insert, underneath the Insert tab, there's a clip art menu. When I click clip art, it brings up the clip art search tool over here, and I'm going to type birthday. And the media that I'd like to make sure that I have illustrations and photographs. I don't need video or audio sounds in my Excel sheet, so just make sure I have those checked, and I'm going to say go. And I'm going to have some different clip art. Oh, I like this cupcake. So on this cupcake, when I click the cupcake itself, oh my, this is looking pretty big. So that clip art needs to be resized by just dragging this to the handle. And the 27th is going to be an important day. There's the 27th, and that happens to be oh my, something's cool this month. My wife's birthday happens to also be Thanksgiving. So we need to add some different clip art. Go ahead and continue adding clip art. Here's another one. I'll resize it. So 2 days, great holidays. I'll resize those to make those look good there. And we'll continue adding some more because we need to add a bunch of clip art to our calendar. The very last thing we're going to do here is we're going to do some cell lines. So cell lines are the borders around what we have made. If I just go to File, Print, and show you what this looks like when I say Print Preview, you can see that my calendar has no borders. You don't need to go File, Print right now, but I'll go back to the Home menu, and I need to put highlight cells A2 through G2 and click the All Borders tool. So find up at the top where the All Borders tool is. Here's the All Borders tool underneath our font. As I do the down triangle, I want to do All Borders. And I'm just going to click this All Borders. Now I've put some borders in there. Next, I want to do A3 through A4 and A4, and click the Outside Borders tool. So what I did both of those. I'm saying both of these right here. I'm going to say Outside Border tool. So that's not all cells and all borders. We're going to just do outside borders. You notice that I just did outside borders. Now use the Format Painter, and we're going to do the rest of the dates. Again, Format Painter, if you have something highlighted, you can say, I want to copy that, and go through the rest of the dates here. You can see how that's going in now, so it's getting everything. So again, I'll highlight these cells, go to Format Painter and copy that. You can see I just dragged that through all of those. So you could do them one at a time, you could do a row, but you could do all of those at the same time. Just to see what this looks like now, I'm pretty much done with my calendar. I would go here and say File, Print, and I can see that it's looking a lot like a calendar. Now it doesn't have many clip art. It has some other things that we're going to need, so as you flip your sheet over, there's some other things that you need. So making sure that we put some clip art in there, I'm looking through all my requirements, read through this, add the things that you need, and don't forget, continually save by clicking on the Save button. Okay, I went back to my calendar, and this is what my completed calendar looks like. I made a couple changes. So before, when I highlighted the dates, I wasn't doing the entire cell, and I decided to highlight the entire cell, for example 26th, 27th, and 28th. Instead of just making those titles there up at the top where the numbers were at, I highlighted the entire two groups of cells, so that would make a better color in the background. I chose a couple different important dates on this calendar. Remember, I ended up selecting lighter colors. I put some text in each of the boxes, and I changed some of the formatting on the text. Sometimes I had it centered at the bottom of the cell, sometimes I had it centered in the center of the cell. And I tried to add clip art in some of those so that it would be more meaningful. For example, the 8th grade field trip has like the bus coming and going on the days that they're coming and leaving, and they're going to Washington, D.C. That's what it looks like when you're looking at it. When you go to actually print it out, it's going to be in a black and white. And you can tell if I made too dark of a background color in some of those cells, you wouldn't be able to read the words. So that's how the calendar is going to look towards the end. Remember, you're picking the dates and the clip art that you like to put in, but you can copy some of mine if you like, if you're doing November 2014.